The last couple of weeks, I did a couple of observers. You can see that their stories are fucking identical, that they're missing information. They're not personal about people. It's the observer story. If you are studying the observer story coins, what is your, like from a joke perspective, look at yourself like an audience member watching a sitcom. Zoom out and look at what you're really doing. Don't look at what you're saying. Don't look at your words. Don't look at your experience. Zoom out and look at yourself from the audience perspective. When the audience is watching your clown show of a life in the movies, what do you look like from the audience perspective? That's what you're looking for. Not your perspective, the audience's perspective. What do they say when they're walking back to the car? Like, yes, there's another fucking observer story. That's it. They're not going into all your details and all your stories and all your mommy issues and all the bullshit that all you want to do is talk about that little, all the specifics of that stuff. That's not what Ops is about. Ops is not about tracking your details, your point of view, your story. That's not what this is. You got that confused with Myers-Briggs or horoscopes or Enneagram or something else. So last couple of weeks were observers. So I'm like, all right, I got 10 minutes. Let me go find a decider because I got to hurry up and screen capture this because I got to get to 50 other things. So I'm scrolling through Fallon or whoever, Kimmel and Stephen Colbert. I'm like, this guy looks like a decider face. I've never seen this guy before. I think he's on TV or something. Looks like a decider face. Let me just grab him, grab a few clips and screen capture him. I bet you he's probably a decider. Let's see what we get. That's it. Now, it turns out, allegedly, he might not be an observer. Now, just lucky me that I happen to be able to know what deciders look like, but that is the benefit that has come from years of doing this right. Everybody wants to jump to the magic, amazing moves that the black belt can do, or the guy that's been working on cars for 25 years. Yes, your dad who's been working on cars for 25 years can hear a Honda Civic 2004 with a squeaky left wheel and be able to know that without going through the diagnosis process because he's earned that, because he's done it the hard way for 25 years. You haven't. I can look at somebody and go, they're probably a decider, and usually be right. But that's not because I'm playing the looks like game. It's not because I'm playing the stupid shit that everybody else is doing of trying to like measure eyebrows and shit. It's something that comes to me as a benefit of doing it correctly, slowly over all these years from the data and the experience. But nobody builds the data and the experience. They want to just jump to the surface level anecdote stuff as fast as they can, which is why people can work on ops for years and not go anywhere because they won't do it the hard way. They won't do it the long way. And sure enough, as I edit these clips, there's nothing special to the clips. You're going to see decider stories. You're going to see you, me, and they. So you have to know what is a decider story. You have to look at this and understand it from a mechanical point of view, a scientific point of view, not your point of view, not your life, not how you feel. You got to be able to look past that as a scientist. Okay, you're studying frogs and toads. Look at the species. Look at the mechanisms of what are deciders doing and why? What is that? If you were an AI alien robot and you had to build humans and you had to build in this genetic code of like, why? Why is this genetic code here? Because we have to have the IPs running off going, hey, I'm the selfish guy. It's going to be me, me, me. And then we have the EJs who be like, no, we got to counter that. There needs to be justice. So you need to have the left and the right. The Democrats and Republicans have to fight each other. Then you got to have the EPs and the IJs like Batman and Joker running around playing control chaos. So it's a game. It's a species game. We have to be fighting each other to create the friction, so it's a checks and balances. The IP does IP shit on full fucking blast without checking themselves. Don't worry. Evolution put in the EJs on full blast to counter them, and it balances out. So the IPs versus the EJs, the Democrats versus the Republicans, this country versus that country, the EPs versus the IJs. Evolutionary speaking, the ones versus the fours, the twos versus the threes, the consume versus the blast. It's the same game in all of evolution and all of the species. So that's the bigger picture mechanism of why there are imbalances built into the genetic codes. Now, which little ink dot are you out of 7-8 billion people? Which one are you? Well, you're one of billions of EJs or billions of IPs or billions, like you're one of these coins. So stop looking at your individual specific self and your life. Like you'll get the benefits of that shit later, but stop skipping the most important part, which is Barnum effect, science, evolution, the mechanics, like the bigger picture of what and why these coins and what they're fucking doing. So these are just Donald Hoffman beer bottle fucking beetles called our functions, our brains, who we are. Like we're just walking around looking for something bumpy and shiny. We're just looking for our saviors. You're not doing anything that everybody else of your type is also doing at a larger scale. Now people can't see that because they're like, well, but in my life, I had Velcro shoes and they all had tie shoes, so I'm different. And that's what everybody's trying to do. So to take a run at what an EJ is doing, you got to get a running start on what an EP is doing. So what's going on here? You have an extroverted function at the top. Okay, an extroverted function at the top. And Carl Jung took this approach a lot. So you have an extroverted function at the top. So the EP is going, I am not responsible for my OI, right? Because we all are our OI and our DI. Now, if your saviors sleep, well, your DI and OI savior, you're just not a bullshitter. You're a selfish ass, and you just are Jerry Seinfeld. And you're like, I'm a selfish ass. This is what I want, and I'm going to take it. There's no bullshit. There's no lies. If you're an EP or an EJ or some kind of extroverted function, you're a liar. You're going, well, I care about everybody else. No, you don't. You really care about yourself like everybody else does. But you have to do this obligation of, oh, I got to check the tribe. And if you're an EP, you're like, oh, I want to do my plan. Oh, but I want to gather first. There's a dog leg. There's a decoy there. And by the way, this just goes on and on and on because observers aren't even real. Observers are actually deciders with this decoy dog leg of like, well, because observers really actually care about people and care about judgment, all the stuff that deciders do. It's just that we'll deflect it with observation shit, right? Because like, why am I doing ops videos? Well, I'm really doing these amazing informations because I just want people to like me. It's still the same shit. So these extroverted functions, these evolutionary add-ons, they're just distractions from we really are all DIOY, right? So the EP still wants their plan, but they're obligated to go do all this gathering first, even though they just want their plan. And the IJs is just like, fuck that, just go get your plan. Right? So the IJs are more straightforward. The EPs have to take this dog leg, and that's what the EJs are doing. So the EPs won't just go straight to their plan. They won't just build their plan. Why? But that's what they need. That's what they want. That's the introverted function that drives all of us more than the extroverted function. You hear what I'm saying? All of our introverted functions drive us way more than our extroverted functions. Now, you're not your introverted function. You're not any one of these functions, just like the computer is not the keyboard. You are a coagulation of all of these programs, plus other stuff and consciousness and, who knows, whatever the hell. Like the ops coins, it's just a very massive framework that explains a lot of human behavior. Not all of it. You still have childhood trauma, you have upbringing, you have all of this crazy stuff going on. The ops framework is like, look, engine, four-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, like it's the larger framework. It is probably the biggest thing to do with psychology, but it's not the only thing. It doesn't explain every single goddamn thing about your life, especially in great detail. It explains the larger things. It explains where you're gonna fucking be in 20 years. It does that. It has exact precision predictability. If you are an EP, you are going to end up in a control chaos situation 100% of the time, guaranteed, yes. Now, in what country you do that or how exactly that I don't fucking know. But I know it's not going to be decider problems. It's going to be control chaos problems every single fucking time. But again, people don't care about predictability. They don't care about the future. They're special. Everybody wiggles out of it, right? So the EPs have to look in your underwear drawer. And I wish that was figurative. They will actually literally look in your underwear drawer. Why is that? Why is that? Because they have a swing with, they are not responsible for the OI. They're not responsible for the plan. They're not responsible for building and connecting the dots in a line and preparing for what's coming next. But they see that you are. They see that you are, so they need to look into your stuff. They're free to look at. The EPs, and again, I'm talking generally. I know you're an EP and you're so awesome and you're so amazing and you don't do this, so just, go ahead and tune out for a little bit here. But the EPs in general, there's no shame in looking at your stuff because there's no limits. They don't have limits for themselves. So they're like, yeah, I'll look in your underwear drawer and I'll look in here and I'll hack into your shit. Don't worry, I'm doing it for freedom. Now, you can't do that to them because they'll freak the fuck out. Right? Again, you better be following me in the right context. I'm talking about the EP coins. I'm not talking about you fucking personally or your mom. And that right there is where everybody goes off. They're listening to me talk about the science of this, the mechanics of this. And they can't stop projecting themselves, their story, and their people. And there's an overlap that is not my fucking fault. That's right. I'm going to point my finger in your fucking face. It's your fault. You need to be listening to this in the correct context and stop ramming your processing and your life and your issues and trying to figure out yourself during the science of this. Separate that. You want to figure out your type? Deal with that later. Figure out the coins is very separate. So make the patterns fucking fit is what I'm saying. So when I say all EPs look through the underwear drawer, stop taking that literally like, well, I don't do that. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So make that fit or stop sharing the English language with me because I have to work with the limitations of the English language. I can't say this any better or any more clear. If you're understanding the mechanisms of why, what does that feel like? Why? If you're a little Roomba, if you're a little alien, if you're a little beetle, and you only have the gather coin and not the organized coin, you're going to have an anxiety where you feel like you have to keep looking into everybody else's lunchbox. Make that fit. And the IJs are the other way around. They're like, I don't want to go gather, so I'm going to just reorganize what's already randomly fallen in my box. Make that fit. So with the EPs as an example, the EJs are doing that with people because they're not building up their own DI. They're not building up their own self-confidence, and their triggering is in their personal identity. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with the EPs' ability to organize. They're just triggered by it and they run away from it. But the mechanism works fine, right? Because you see EPs as they get older, Jeff Bezos or whatever, like he organizes just fine. He organizes better than anybody in the world. What happened? He just stopped being super afraid of organizing. Like he's still triggered by it, but he's like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to push through it. So the EPs still can do amazing organizing, but they have to get to a point in their life where they stop running from that and thinking the triggering is so goddamn real, because it's not real. Because your fourth function down there works just fine. Your calf muscles work just fine. You just never work them out. That's why they're small. But they're fine. That's what I'm seeing. My SE is just fine. My SE works fine. I just don't put enough time under tension, which is why it's underdeveloped. And it's coming from the overactive NI that won't let it turn on. So turn off the first fucking function and your fourth function turns on just fine. So the EJs, their DI works just fine. Their sense of security works just fine, but it doesn't because they're triggered and they won't work on it. They won't stay in it. So it's easier for them to get wrapped up into the addiction of looking at everybody else. Well, what about this guy? What about that guy? That's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair. Without the EJs, we would all live as fucking slaves because some goddamn DI, an archetypal DI, right? Again, play along, will take over and be a selfish ass and make everything extremely unfair for everybody. So as much as the DEs and the EJs might be annoying because they're following you around, they got their fucking finger in your face all day. Yes, that is annoying, but without them, we all live in a fucking slave shop. There is no fairness. Like, who's going to fight for the little guy? Let's see, not the IJ, not the EP, not sure as hell, not the IP. So it's only the EJ that's going to be like, stop, this is unfair, you. And so there's a checks and balances. Without the EJ, our society falls apart. Now, the EJ and everybody else included, if you're just your savior functions unconsciously on autopilot, that works out at scale. Because if you have 1,000 mindless zombie EJs taking on 1,000 mindless zombie IPs, it evens out, right? So that's a difference between what's going on evolutionary at large scale. Your evolution is using you just fine, if you want to be unconscious or not. Ops is about, oh, you know what? I want to be conscious. I still want to play my role. So if I'm an IJ, I need to battle the EPs. Okay, I accept that. But I want to be able to choose that from time to time. Because sometimes, don't tell them, sometimes the EPs are right. Sometimes the IJs are wrong. And I need to switch teams. And that's what the consciousness does, is you look at the objective goals and be like, what is the correct answer here? Not, I know what I want to do. I just want to control everything. But that, I'm a hammer, everything's a nail. But sometimes the objective goals are like, shit, we need a little bit of chaos. We need a little bit of new. And same with the EJs. Sometimes like, hey, what these EJs are bitching about is actually true. There is unfairness going on here. This guy is selfish. This guy is way out of line. Now, a lot of times they're not. And that's why the EJs look like Karens, because they're like everybody else. They just have their savior functions on at full time, just hoping and wondering that maybe randomly they're right today. And that's why it's like consciously being aware of like, what the fuck do you have as the first function? Because that thing's going off 24/7. You're the beer bottle beetle looking around for something shiny and bumpy. Like if you find something shiny and bumpy, congratulations. But what if there's not something shiny and bumpy there? What if that's not what you're actually looking for? You need to be able to turn that off. That's the adaption. That's the opposite of a personality disorder. A personality disorder is defined by you're stuck in the same goddamn gear, Donald Trump. You're stuck. Everything is just, I know what to do with that. My savior's only. And you just use that only. If you got a good set of saviors, then fucking rock it. But as Darwin says, adaption, being able to adapt. If you're an EJ, can you swing over to IPville? Can you swing over and be like, you know what, fuck the tribe. Yeah, you know what, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do the right thing, even though the tribe doesn't agree. You know what, they can fucking catch up with me. If you're an EJ and you have the ability to do that, you have reached enlightenment, alpha power, because you're already double observing. You can do the EP shit and the IJ shit just fine. But if you're an EJ, can you do the DI stuff? Can you be an IP? Can you do it consciously? Can you be able to see, I'm not going to give in to this insecurity and this finger pointing and all this bullshit that I'm wired to do that works out half the time, but the other half the time it runs me in a fucking circle and I feel horrible and I'm wrong. So these are the mechanisms of what the EJ is doing and why. They're trying to go out on autopilot and balance the tribe that's being selfish and there's not justice and equality. So they're looking to knock everybody down and equal things out. That's what they're trying to do. That's what the mechanism, that's what their first function is designed and built to do. It's just a little Roomba thing. It's an EJ is not their lead DE. That's one of their largest, most powerful programs, but it's just a program, right? And the IJ is just trying to organize shit. That's all they're trying to do. And the EP is just trying to look in your underwear drawer and steal stuff so everybody has quality in the information. Nobody's hoarding up information. And, sometimes we need the whistleblowers and they're actually right. And the IP is going, you guys are all fucking nuts. I need to go out and explore. I need to get on my magic motorcycle. And I need to take off and go build my own tribe somewhere else. And thankfully, that's true as well. Elon Musk is out of here. He's going to fucking Mars. Like, I know that's funny, but we need shit like that. That's like how we've populated every single fucking country on the planet because some archetypal IP is like, you know what, fuck you guys, I'm out of here. So it's horrible at the time, but it does really well for the species. Anyways, who's coming up for this next week? Rob, allegedly, he is a decider. Allegedly, he's leaning toward the DE side. You're going to see his wife as well, who might also possibly be DEEJ, and the two of them are talking on an interview, and it turns into quite a decider shit show fuck off, which is rather funny. But again, these clips are just picked at random. This is going to be anywhere ever. You cannot not see this stuff if you are setting yourself up right before you watch the damn clip. Before. If you're guzzling down Myers-Briggs, if you're guzzling down all the shit on the forums, if you're not practicing, if you're not doing your coins, when you go to type people and yourself and everything else, you are going to have to swim through a ocean of bullshit that you've collected and you won't be able to do it. You have to correctly have the right coins loaded, like I'm doing for you right now. Okay, you're going to watch these clips here of Rob this week, and you're going to look for Observer Decider. Hint, hint, he's a fucking decider. And then from the decider, you're going to be like, is this guy DI or DE? And you get your fucking definitions down. They've been spoon feeding you for fucking years now. And you download that yourself, and you're like, he doesn't seem to be DI. And then you look at that, and you understand and feel, why is he doing this? What's going on? Like, oh, They're looking for fairness. They're looking for equality. That's their job. And therefore, he doesn't have time to freak out about the missing information.